Her name was Katrina. She was born by the waters of Babylon, stirring in our sleep with the force of breath of every ancestor whose blood already stained our feet. And as Ground Zero, New Orleans, Mississippi, Alabama, where are you now? Under the weight of water and negligence, because justice is blind and could not see. Her children drowning in the darkness refused to stretch out her hands and grab them. Said they were too black, couldn't find them. Too poor with her silence. Evacuate, they said, 24 hours prior to Armageddon on buses that never came. Buy your way out if you can. And where you gonna go when your whole life has been this place? So Nabi stood there, and as the water splashed at her toes, Katrina's mother's water broke, flooded the side streets with a puddle of the ocean. And as the water rose to her womb, her daughters floated by in garbage cans. Her son swam against the currents of extinction. And as the water came to her chest, they separated the woman from the man, shipped them to Auschwitz in Mississippi, the Superdome, the dungeon in Cape Coast. And as the water rose to her chin, the television showed us pictures of looters and bandits, so a nation will fall back asleep, nodding their heads in disbelief. There was no one left worth saving. And as the water came to her mouth, her screams were flooded with all the blood that soaked the self and all the pain her grandfathers couldn't swallow. And as the water came to her nose, the stench of sewage and corpses that already existed rose to the surface. All the helicopters and soldiers were in someone else's backyard, trampling someone else's sandcastles. And as the water rose to her eyes, it dissolved the coating on the lies. There was no security, and this wasn't our homeland.
My name is Michelle Sandifer, and I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. I was here during the hurricane as an inmate of Orleans Parish Prison. When the hurricane hit, we were left in there without food and water for 4 days, water up to our neck. The guards were telling us that they left us there to die, and they could not find anyone to get any authorization to have us removed. You know, please just help us. Everybody's screaming, help me, help me. We kept trying to get out because the water was getting high, and we're banging on the doors. We all panicking, we're afraid. And the water was getting so high, and then the guards coming in, they were screaming, they left y'all here to die. We don't have no authorization to get y'all out of here. I mean, it was like, they were like, we weren't even human, like we didn't even exist. I mean, they were saying like, there was one thing they said, they were gonna leave the prison where they belong. They was not gonna evacuate us. You know, we were the last to be evacuated. I mean, even the animals came before us. I've never been treated so badly. It was just unreal. I mean, just to explain it, you could never, you know, explain it. And then you have to relive it when you talk about it. And it makes it really hard to relive it. And then to hear this man get on TV and say that everything went well and he treated us so good, it's a lie. It's a lie.
There are 6 million away.
Both African American communities and Latino communities have experienced this level of criminalization really around work. When Orleans Parish Prison was reopened, immediately employers were calling the prison and saying, we need your guys, we need workers. And so you see African Americans being arrested, funneled into a prison system, being put to work through the sheriff's program, and then at the same time, large numbers of immigrants being brought into the city, recruited to come work here, and meanwhile, immigration enforcement inflated, so immediately behind them, an enforcement agency to criminalize and arrest them.
Blanco giving shoot-to-kill orders. She gave orders for the National Guard and other folks that they were trained. They just came back from Iraq. They knew how to use their weapons, and if they caught anybody so-called looting, that they had the right to shoot to kill. There was no question around, well, if people don't have water, people don't have food, the government is not providing this, how are people supposed to fend for themselves?
All they have to do is try.
I hate the way they portray us in the media. If you see a black family, it says they're looting. See a white family, it says they're looking for food. George Bush doesn't care about black people.
We survived despite being abandoned by federal, state, and local governments. Police would not come out of their cars. National Guard trucks rolled by completely empty, with soldiers with guns cocked and aiming at us. Nobody stopped to drop off water. A helicopter dropped a load of water, but all the bottles exploded on impact. Many people were delirious from lack of water and food, completely dehydrated. I saw a young man get down on his knees and beg for water for his little baby, and I saw the child die right there on the concrete. This was murder. They wanted us dead. They just didn't think so many of us would survive.
The army turned us around with guns. I was on top of the interstate 5 days, okay? Helicopters at night shining the light down on us. They know we was there, passing us up like we wasn't nothing. When you keep somebody on top of the interstate for 5 days with no food and water, that's killing people. 4 people died around me. 4. This is what you call murder. That's what I call it. What else would you call it?
Beyond that lie.